Okay, we're recording now. So let me share some links first. Um, oh, I lost the link because I just copied that other thing. So here's a Slack that we use to communicate if people are new to Junior Developer Happy Hour. Um, this meetup is Junior Developer Happy Hour React30 night. We also do AMAs. We're taking a break right now, though I don't know when we're going to do another AMA. Usually we do that on Saturdays. And then Sunday nights, we've been doing this React30 where we do JavaScript 30 exercises, but we do it in React. So I'll also share my LinkedIn page in case there are new people here who want to connect and they're not already connected with me. Oh, Brian made it. I already posted the links though, but if people want the links again, Brian is the links man. He got all the links. um, so today we're gonna do HTML5 canvas, which is this one. We're gonna do it a little different though. He does some stuff. I'm just gonna simplify it, just because we have an hour and some stuff like making random colors and stuff like I don't really want to go into that. Oh, maybe we'll see if we have time. So I don't know if you've already watched this, but he does this like random colors and random size kind of thing to like extend the challenge. But we use Code Sandbox, so we just click this and then we get a new sandbox, and let me give you the link in case we want to get people joining in and typing with us. But this week I might do most of the driving. We'll see. So we'll see how it goes. I'm also going to start from scratch because there isn't really much starter code for this exercise. Oh wait, my throat's dry. Okay, so I don't know if everybody's familiar with Canvas, but like Canvas, you can do cool stuff like you can draw on the you can draw pictures, or you can like create images. Meme generators, I think, are all created with Canvas, which is my favorite thing built with Canvas. Like if I was gonna build a project just to learn Canvas better, I'd probably build a meme generator because I love memes. For the people who don't know me, that's a fun fact. So let's just start with the Canvas. Before we start though, anybody have any like quick questions? Nope. Okay. So I'm gonna get rid of this stuff. Let's leave the title on, obviously. What's this thing called again? It's called Fun with HTML5 Canvas. Let's put that. Fun with 5. So get rid of this. So there's a couple of pieces to this. Canvas, you can specify the width and the height, like just in line like this. Let's make it like 600 or something. I don't know. We'll play around with it. Oh, 6. Oh, pixels. So, and you can't even see it. So I'm just gonna put some styling on it. Style. You can just do border. Let's see. Boom. Okay, we got, so that's our canvas. So just to, in order to work with Canvas, you gotta use imperative actions. So we have to use ref to get the actual canvas object and then manipulate it. There is a way to do it with a React package called React Canvas, but that is too simple. So we're not going to do that. The other week we used some packages, but it was just because that was a fun way to do it. For this week, it wouldn't really make sense to use the package. Maybe in the real world, you would just use the package though, because they probably already made it pretty well. Let me try to get the link. I think it's React Canvas Draw. I could be wrong though. I think it's React Canvas Draw. So if you did need to like draw with Canvas in the real world, you might want to look at that package. But like, it's still fun to learn it from scratch. So we're gonna create a ref. Canvas ref equals use ref. And then put here. So we gotta import the ref. Import. Equals. Okay, so just for a sanity check, let's do like on mount, let's just draw something automatically. So I'll say use effect. And then, we can't actually draw yet though. You need for drawing on canvas, you have to use this object called context. So you gotta create a context first, and I'll show you how to do that. I think we can just use a ref too. You can probably use state or use ref, but since I already imported use ref, let's just use the ref. So
Sam,
a lot of
can
people
you explain what use ref does? Like, what does that hook do?
It just allows you to hold like, it's kind of like use state, except it doesn't cause the page to re-render. It doesn't cause the page to re-render whenever you change the value. So as an example, I can just console log this canvas ref. So behind the scenes, this is storing like, it gives you a reference to the HTML node. Like you can use it like this, but you can also just do like count equals use ref. You can use this like, you can just put values and that defaults it to 0. And then you can keep incrementing the count. But like to show you how you get a handle to like a HTML DOM node by doing it like this. Watch when I do like canvas ref the current. So current is the current value of the reference. And then if we do that, you can see I got the HTML canvas node. So you can do any of the functions that you can do with a canvas node. So I can do like, so we're gonna need get context. So I'm gonna bring that up. So get context, and we're gonna use 2D. That's like the simple version for just drawing like 2D objects, and we're just going to draw lines. So that's just 2D. You can do, these things are more fancy. I don't know how to use those too much. I've only used libraries that like do that stuff for you. But like anything that a canvas can do, so this canvas element, like if you went and looked up the docs for that, it's right here. So you can access all these things. So like, I can see height and width. So like if I can show you, when I do like dot height, that should be 600, right? See, it says 600. If I do width, that should be 600 because that's the values I set to the width and height. So anything you can access with you can just look at the docs and see what you can access. As long as you have a reference to the HTML DOM node, then you can access all those functions and all those methods and properties that are on a canvas element. but not just Canvas. Like you can put the ref on any HTML DOM node. So yeah, that's like, you should go read the docs though. There's a lot more to refs than that. I was just giving like a quick.
Yeah, I'll have to read up on it. I've never seen that hook really used, so.
Oh, it's actually used a lot. So
Okay.
use ref, use state, and use effect are probably what you'll use the most in most
Yeah, I
apps.
use effect all the time. I mean, I haven't been using React for all that long, so what I consider stuff I've seen, that doesn't really mean anything.
Yeah, so like Ian was just asking, how do you get the size of the HTML node, right? Like you should be able to do that. I think you can do that. Yeah, see, so this is how I get the whole, all the attributes, like how big and like where it is positioned on the screen and stuff like that. So you can call any like methods that you can call on HTML nodes. So that's how you can build like that text fit component that I don't know if you're here in the beginning when Ian was asking, he wanted to like resize the text so that it fits inside a div. You would use this method, and you need a ref in order to do this. So, okay. So we need to set up the context, so I don't need count. But just to show you the count, like if I did count, count that current. How come it's 0? I thought I put it 0. I don't know. I don't want to debug it right now. So we don't want that. We want, people usually they call the context CTX. You'll see that in a lot of examples. That's just short for context. I think they use it as short. Let me see. Maybe it's in the docs. Yeah, CTX is a common abbreviation for context when you're dealing with Canvas, HTML Canvas. I was gonna call it React Canvas. So use ref. And Canvas, the context, once the canvas is loaded, we can extract the context from it. So we can say context equals canvas ref dot current dot get let's get context, right? Yeah, get context to the, I think. Oh, oops. So we do that. And then if we want to just look at it real quick. We can see I have a canvas rendering context 2D. So to set that up, there's some things. I'm gonna grab some of the values from that Wes Boss used to set it up. So it's in here. In like the final code, here's some of the initial. I just want some of the setup. Maybe those two and line width, but I don't want 100. So we want to do this. So this is going to be current. And let's make it smaller. 100 is kind of huge. So those are all the things. And like, if I want to just prove like for a sanity check, I usually, when I code, I just code a little bit, and then I always do sanity checks to make sure what I set up actually is doing what I thought it would do. So with the context, once you define some styles, there are some default styles, but so like I didn't need to do this right now, but those are what we're gonna need to draw the lines. But like to do If you want to just draw like a rectangle, you can do, I think it's fill rect, and then you say the X and Y position, and then like how big you want it to be. So if I do it like 200. So I just drew this like rectangle. So that was like a sanity check to make sure I set up my context correctly, that I can actually draw on the context. So I'm gonna delete this code, fill rect. I don't need that. That's not part of what we're gonna do. We're gonna do when you like click and you drag, it's gonna draw lines on the screen. And then we're gonna, depending how much time we have, we'll make a color picker as well. So you can like change the color, like if you wanna draw a blue line instead of a black line, because we're gonna start off just with default. The default color is black. You see, I didn't set any colors, like, and I set a line width of 5. That doesn't affect the rectangle, but like when we start drawing lines, I forget what the default is, but I think it's like really skinny. That's why I put 5. The default might just be 1, I think. So I'm gonna delete this. And before we get started on the next part, does anybody have any questions? The next part is we're gonna have to go over some mouse events. So before I confuse you too much, I just wanted to see if anybody has any questions about setting up the canvas, because that's like step 1, or that's step 1 for me. Like anybody can do it in different orders. Like you could probably look up on YouTube and other people might do it in a different order. I forget if West Boss did it in this order too. I watched the video earlier today, but I don't remember exactly what he did. Any questions about canvas and setting up the canvas to get ready to draw? No? Okay, I'm gonna keep going then. So in order to draw, let's refresh this to get rid of that. You need mouse events. So, because you gotta keep track of where the user is placing the mouse and dragging. So you need, this is a typical pattern you use. You listen for the mouse down event, so you know where to start drawing. You listen for the mouse move event, so you can draw the line, so you have all the coordinates of them dragging the mouse. And then you have a mouse up event to know when to stop drawing the line. So that's a common pattern for drawing. That's also a common pattern for like drag and drop. Like if you needed to like drag and drop elements on the page, you can use the same pattern. Like you listen for mouse down to know when to start moving the object, and then you listen to the mouse move so that you can move the object while they're moving the mouse, and then you mouse up to stop moving the thing. So we can do all 3 of those things. So I think we can just put them all on the canvas. So let's try. So mouse down. So we're gonna do sanity checks along the way. Like I said, I always do a lot of sanity checks. So let's make a function actually. So let's make and start drawing. So equals that. Let's console log. And I'll say drawing. So I'm gonna try, let me get rid of all this stuff. So that's me clicking, I'm creating these events. So there's all this stuff on there. Is there offset X? We need an offset X though, let me see. Offset X. Undefined, I think that's on the native event. So React also keeps track of the native mouse event, because React, when you get the event from React, React wraps the native event that the browser creates, and it stores the native event inside this native event variable. So I'm looking for this offset Y, because offset X and offset Y is offset from the actual, like from this corner, the X and Y. So if I click here, the offset, well, I need the native event though. Let's do native event, native. Because like, so it's 159x. That means it's 159 pixels from this left border. And that's, I want to know where to draw inside this square. I don't want to know what the X is like from the window. So I need, it looks like it's only off of the native event. Like just console logging it real quick. I didn't see this offset X on top of the React event itself. So we're gonna need that. And we're also gonna need the Boolean when to know that we're drawing and when we're not drawing. So I actually need use state now because we want, whenever we update the state, if we're drawing or not, we want the component to re-render. So whenever we do on mouse down, we want to set the state to, is drawing. So we default that to false because when the app loads, you're not drawing, right? So whenever we set is drawing to true, and then we need a draw function. And then we also need a finish drawing function. So let's do set is drawing to false. And for now, let's just console log what is drawing is in here. So let's hook up all these events to make sure I did everything correctly, and then I'll stop for questions. Goals, draw. Oops. So there's that. So now let's get rid of all this. Let's see what happens. So okay, now let me drag and drop. So it's true, 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 true. Okay, so it was doing true, 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 true because I was holding the mouse button down and just moving it around, and this function just kept getting called over and over and over and over and over. So that's not super interesting. What we want to do when we draw is we actually want to draw. So we need the X and Y position of where the mouse position is at that point in time. So let's do that. I'm going to console log this, and then I'm going to stop and ask for a question. So if we do this, native and the offset Y. Now you see all those numbers because that's me moving it all around. Wait, one more thing before I stop. We don't want to execute this unless we're drawing. So right now, let me just show you. It's even, I'm not even pressing the mouse button down. I'm just moving the mouse and it's still drawing because it's saying on mouse move, console log this. But we actually want to ignore the draw function if we're not drawing. So if we say if is not drawing, then we put in a guard clause. That's called a guard clause that like checks a condition, and then if it doesn't match, if that condition matches, then we just short circuit the function and don't do anything. That's called a guard clause. So now if I move the mouse around, it doesn't do anything. But if I click and hold it down, and then as soon as I lift my finger up, it stops executing this code. Okay, I'm gonna stop real quick because that might have been a lot for some of the new people who are just getting started with JavaScript. Anybody have any questions about any of those things? Just about the events or mouse down, mouse up, or just the algorithm that I'm coming up with to like be able to draw? No questions?
I was wondering about the guard clause. Could you just say is drawing and then the double ampersand and then the native event offset X, native event offset Y? Wouldn't that work the same? I guess why do you need the guard clause if you can do like conditional?
It's for readability. So I think what you're talking about is the other way to do this and then put this inside of the if statement. Is that what you're saying?
I'm saying
Instead,
not even to have an if statement, to just say is drawing and then the double ampersand and then the native events that and then logging the native event. So not even no if statement, just say is drawing double ampersand
that's not
console.log.
yeah, that's not a common pattern in JavaScript though. You want to use like a if conditional. When you use the and sign, that's when like you're setting, like if you're setting a value something equals, then you do is drawing and whatever, or you do ternary. You don't ever do this and then do like console log unless you're like and then execute some kind of statement after it. That's not really a pattern. That makes the code like really hard to read.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, like people do this for conditional rendering for like JSX and stuff. That's fine.
Okay. I think that's why I had, because I've been using it so much for that. I thought I guess I use it for maybe stuff I shouldn't use it for now.
So, and it depends on your coding style too, but that would definitely not be good style. It's just hard to understand what that code is doing if you're doing that. I'm a little verbose, so I write it out like this, but you don't actually need like you can just put it all on one line like this. But to me, like I like to, that's just my style. Just Douglas Crockford style. I don't know if anybody ever watched Crockford. He's like the godfather of JavaScript. I don't know. I forget what people call him, but like I copy his style, and he always does he always puts the curly brackets on, even though you don't need it. Because if your function just only has one line in it, you don't need the curly braces. But to me, it is much easier to read like this with the curly braces. Even though it's 3 lines of code instead of 1 line of code, I still, my personal preference is to do it like that. I mean, if you did it the other way in a pull request and I was reviewing it, I wouldn't say anything because I don't care as long as it works and I understand what it's doing. I wouldn't say anything. They call that nitpicking in PRs when you like comment about that kind of stuff. And it's kind of irritating. After you've been in the industry for a long time, you'll see that in PRs. In order to like warn the person that you're nitpicking, people do a convention where they put nit dash whatever their comment is, so that they're trying to warn you that they're nitpicking. Don't get mad at me. You can ignore this comment, but like this annoys me a little bit. So people do like in the PR, they'll do like I'll just put it in a comment. They'll be like nit, use curly braces, or it would be easier to read with curly braces or something like that. That's like a nitpick. So when you do
Sam,
PRs, try to avoid nitpicks, but if you're gonna nitpick, warn the person and tell them you're nitpicking. It's just what people do. What is that?
Sam, just on the blocker code that you're working with, the is drawing. If you were to just put a true flag, so saying like is draw equals true, would that work as well?
Yeah, but that's
Yeah.
unnecessary, right? Because it's a Boolean. So
Okay.
you could do that if you want to be like you're talking about doing this.
Well, I was actually talking about taking it out of the if and just having is drawing and passing in a true value for that draw function. So kind of like what you're saying here, but taking out the parentheses, basically just changing that value inside that function. Are you able to do it that way?
I don't think so. Maybe I don't
Okay.
understand what you're saying, but like
Well, I was just
we,
saying, and
if you
yeah.
if you wanna perform something based on a conditional, you have to use an if statement.
So you can't just say is drawing is now true if the default was like false, like up there where you have the use state where it says false, and then you're not able to just pass in that reference and having it equal to true for that
I'm
particular
not
function.
I'm not changing the value though, and also the value is read only. Like when you get
Okay,
when you
okay,
get
that
a value
explains it.
when you get a value out of use state, it's read only. And
Oh, okay,
I'm not I'm not trying to change the value. I'm trying to do something based on the value. So I'm saying if I'm not drawing, I don't want to do anything. Just leave this. Just ignore all the rest of the code in this function because
okay,
I only want to draw when I am drawing. So you can. That's why I was saying you can do this and then you do this. That's fine if you like your code's only like one line. But if your code is going to be like multiple lines, most people I think prefer a guard clause because you want to keep your code. It's easier to read the more to the left of the code is. I forget what they call that. That, but like just humans can read it better. If your code is like super indented, like you have if, there's like a meme about that where like I don't know if you saw the Street Fighter meme where it's like Ken or Ryu is like shooting the fireball into your JavaScript code and is making that like making the code look like that. That's just like hard to read. You want to like try to keep the code at the left edge because it's just easier to read. Like the more conditionals you have in your code, it makes it more complex and it's just harder to read because then you got to think about like if this, then if that, and if this. Or like else. You got to think about like all these code branches. But when you use a guard clause, it's super easy to understand. You just look, okay, if I'm not drawing, I just return. It's like super simple to read it and understand. And all the rest of the code only gets executed if that condition wasn't true. So you don't need an else statement. Like you could just do else and then put this in, but that just makes the code harder to understand. People would rather you just use the guard clause. I think most developers would prefer to you use a guard clause and then do whatever other code. The only exception is if it's like one or like a couple lines of code, then or like as long as it's not a lot of lines of code, it would be fine to do the opposite and not have a guard clause and just execute this. But it is these are none of this is like hard rules. It's just like um general opinions most developers have, I think. Okay, any other questions? No. Okay, I'm gonna keep going. So now I can see that I'm drawing the things. What we actually have to do is when we start drawing, we have to begin the path. So in order to start drawing with a context, I think it's begin path. Let me look that up real quick just to make sure. Oh, it's probably on this page. Nope. Okay. So yep, CTX begin path. So whenever you want to start drawing with begin path, you need this, you need to tell it to start drawing. So we need that whenever as soon as you click, we need to click begin start path. We need to move the starting point where you want to start drawing to where the person clicked. So let's move to, I think it was right here, this one, move to. So move to XY. So the XY is just the offset X and the offset Y, the stuff that I was showing you. So we can pull that off of the native event. So when you click down, it's going to do three things. It's going to start the path. It's going to move the context to the point where you clicked. And it's also going to set the Boolean flag that you start drawing. So when we finish drawing, we want to close the path. I think it's close path. Let me just make sure. I don't use Canvas all the time, so.
You're correct, Sam. It's closed path.
Okay. I'm just going off of memory from watching the West Boss video. So close path, and then what else do we need? He has it in here. Oh, he did it different. His way is more complicated in my opinion, so I'm doing it my own way. We also want to, that's it. So when we start drawing, we want to begin the path, move the cursor, and we want to close the path, and we want to set the Boolean flag. Now this is the hardest part is drawing, right? So, but I think what we need is line 2. Let me look what he did. Yeah, line 2. So he did everything in the draw function, which is more complicated in my opinion. So let's do it our own way and see if we can get it to work. I haven't tried it yet, but when I was watching him do it, I was like, this might be a simpler way to do it. Line 2. So line 2, let's see what he did. Oh, it's same like move to, but it's actually drawing the line. So the native event.
I think you're forgetting the current CTX, that current.
Oh, you're right. Or we can just put it in state. Let's see. Let's just go at current. If we put it in state, we wouldn't need to put that current all the time. Oh, I always press the shortcut key for WebStorm instead of what do you call this? VS Code shortcuts. Oh, I already had current on down. I went too far down. Would have been faster without the shortcut. Okay, so line 2, and then we need stroke. So yeah, now that I'm looking at this and we're typing current all over the place, I probably would use state, and like if I were to refactor this. Let's see. I think that should work. Let's see if it does. Oh snap, look at that. And my penmanship is horrible. But yeah. Now I'm gonna add a color picker on, but before I do that, maybe we can tag somebody else in. Was anybody here for the time we did the CSS variables? We used the color picker in that one. I don't know if anybody remembers. But before we do that, anybody have questions? Because we already completed the first part, we're able to draw. We need like maybe like a clear button, and then maybe like a color picker. So anybody have questions before we attempt to add those 2 features on to this app? Like, did that all make sense, what I just did? Yeah, was somebody saying something?
Just so for the use state, just so I understand that the is drawing is the initial state, and then the set is the updated state.
Yeah, so when you use state, when it returns two things, it returns the value is the first, it's a tuple. The first thing in the tuple is the value, and then the next thing is the setter function. So you can name these whatever you want. The normal pattern is to name it something and then name the setter set whatever you name the thing. That's just a
Okay.
convention people use. But you could technically call this ASDF and you call this ABC and it would still work, but that's not very readable. So, okay, any other questions? Just to show you the difference between the ref for the context and use state, I could refactor that real quick, just because this is kind of annoying now that I had to type current. So like the other way that you could do it. Actually, this way is better because if I called set state here, I would need another use effect to wait till the context was set before I could set this up. So I take that back now. It's actually, I think it's better to use the ref. So let's leave it using the ref. Any questions before we try and add a clear button onto this thing?
The offset X and offset Y, those are those are the coordinates like within the canvas. Is that what that means?
Yeah, so wherever the event occurred, the offset X is gonna be like, these are mouse events. So wherever that mouse event occurred on that DOM element, it's gonna give you the X position from wherever the left border is on that element.
So it's not the entire window, it's the canvas within the window?
No, yeah, the window would be client X, I think,
Yeah,
if I remember correctly. It's
All
like
right.
one of the other fields. When you want to get the offset, that's why it's called offset. It means offset X. So if I click here, it wants to know the X position relative to the parent, or relative to whatever that element is. So for our use case, we want it inside here, right? Otherwise, it wouldn't draw it in the correct position. It would like start drawing like outside of the box or something. And that wouldn't work though, because you can only draw inside of the canvas. Like if I go outside, see, nothing gets drawn.
Yeah, I was just trying to figure out offset from what, and that makes sense.
Yeah. So there's actually a bug. I just found a bug. Like if I go out and come back in and I'm not holding the mouse anymore, it's still drawing. So that's a bug, but I'm gonna leave that bug. We would just need to also add in on mouse out. We also would need to like stop drawing when you mouse out. Oh, we can just put that on though. Actually, we can just use the same function. That's why. Let me do that. I think that should be gone now. Yeah. Okay, that was an easy bug to fix. Okay. Any other questions before we attempt to put a clear button?
Sam, regarding the use state again. So if there was another state, would that be like a separate const variable for that? So like say is coloring comma set color, would that, or would I be able to pass that into that current use state?
Normally people make separate ones.
Okay.
But technically you could just do this and then you have an object, and the object can have like different keys on it, but like people don't people usually put it separately into different variables. It's more readable. And that's just what everybody does. Yeah. Okay, any other questions? Okay, does anybody want to try and implement the clear button? I don't even know how to do that, but like all we need is a button and we just need to figure out how to clear the canvas. We just Google how to clear it. Does everyone want to try to do that?
Can I drive and then someone navigate if I don't know what I'm doing?
Yeah, let's see if we can get you working this time. I think you got confused last time just because you were in here twice. Try see if you can type stuff. I just enabled you, Kiki.
Let me try. Oh, I can type.
Yeah, it probably just got you were in here twice last time. I think because you came to the actual Code Sandbox link and you came to the live link, so the Code Sandbox got like the Code Sandbox got confused last time. So yeah, so while you add a button, just put a button above, like underneath the H1, and then I'll Google how to clear the canvas.
Do I need to put a class on it?
Empty and well, you guys help Kiki while I look up how to
Clear
clear canvas. How do you clear the canvas?
There's a Sam. There's a clear rec method to clear the canvas.
Okay, yeah.
Oh, you see it right there. Okay.
Clear. Do not use
I also
canvas.
pasted the MDN link in chat.
Okay, let's see. Clear rect, X, Y, and then width and height. Why was that person saying not to use canvas width? Oh, this is what we want though. Okay. Oh, what you got, Kiki?
I put a on-click on clear canvas, and I'm gonna write clear canvas maybe here. Clear canvas. Ooh. And then what do I need to pass in?
And then
return something. Return with, is it clear rec?
So I'm gonna
Clear
put
rec.
your thing in the div though.
Where's me? So what? So to oh. Do I do 0, 0? Does this look right?
Yeah. And then you need the canvas, so you can access it with canvas ref.current.
Would that give me the width and the height?
Dot width. So you got to call width on the current. Okay, let's see if that works. Let me try to draw some stuff and get rid of all this just to make sure we're not making new errors. Okay. Woo. Okay. Boom. It works. That's pretty easy. Okay.
Oh.
Any questions about that before we try and do a color picker? No? Kiki, you want it, or does somebody else want to try, or should we just let Kiki try and do that too?
I'll drive. You guys want a nap?
So Sam, where is that current coming from? Where it says ctext.current?
That's on a ref. Any ref value, in order to access the value, you'll have to call dot current to get the current value.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
For the color picker, do we just create root variables again? Or is it something?
But wait, let me just explain that though. The reason why they do that is because they don't want the, I think it's because they don't want the component to re-render. So they don't, your actual ref is like the object doesn't change after you create the ref. So what they do is they change the current property inside of the object. Because if they change the object, then React would like re-render the component. I believe that's why the architecture is like that. What are you gonna say, Kiki?
Oh, back to the color picker. Are we trying to have root variables? Or
No, but like in the exercise when we did the root variables, we had a color picker. Do you remember that?
oh, right.
I can bring it up. So
Just pass. It doesn't React have a color picker component?
you don't need it. It's built into HTML.
Oh.
So
Right.
you
Now
wanna
that you mention
you wanna just bring it in, Kiki? So it's just
Oh.
input type color,
it.
and then
Input.
just put it,
I'll put it in front of the button then.
yeah, anywhere on top over there.
Input. Did you say color? What?
Type is the color. So that's the type of input, and that gives you a color picker. That's just built in, which a lot of people don't know, I think. So we can just leave it like that. We don't need to make it look nice. So when you click on this, it gives you a color picker. And what we want to do is we want to update the stroke style. So whenever the input color changes, we want to call like an onChange function and update the color. So if we look at how to change the color, it's just stroke style. So you want to make an onChange handler, Kiki?
Sure. On the input or on the canvas?
Yeah, on the input. So whenever the input changes, we want to update the color of the
OnChange.
context.
Input handler.
Now let's call it change color.
Oh, I was gonna be color input.
Now let's but like what you're doing is you're like you want it to be a verb, you know, at least I would prefer it to be a verb. So you actually have to make the function though, just like how you did with the button. You just put the string change color. You have to like make it a reference to a function.
Oh, it's not a string. Okay.
Yeah.
Change color. Let's see. On change, you say what was the line stroke?
Stroke style. So ctx.current.stroke style.
Stroke style. Let me write that down. What input does it take?
It's not a it's a property. So you got you gotta set it. Oh, sorry, I'm screwing you up.
You can do that.
Okay, so here, I think it would just be I'm just guessing. I think that's what it would be. So let's draw some stuff. Let's try to change the color. Let's pick like something like this. Okay. Look at that.
Nice.
Okay. All right. We did good tonight. It's exactly 1 hour. I can hang out for a little bit if people want to ask questions about this or anything else. I can hang out.
Can you go over the e.target.value? I'm assuming that's
Yeah.
just means an event.
Yeah, so on any input, like you can get the value of whatever the input is off of when you do the on change handler, you get the event, and the way that you get the value of that input is you say e.target.value. That's why I just guessed that. I didn't need to look it up because that's the same for any input, same like a text input or yeah, a number input or HTML has all these different types of inputs. So there's no sense you pull in a library for a color picker unless you want something super fancy. Like this is already pretty good and it's built into the browser. You don't need a dependency. You just put input type color and you just get that for free. So there's a lot of free stuff. So sometimes I think when people are starting off, they don't know all the stuff that exists. That's why I tell everybody to do JavaScript 30 because it exposes you to a lot of stuff that exists that you don't need to build. You don't need to build a color picker. You don't need to download somebody else's color picker. You can just use what's already built into the browser or yeah. Any other questions? No questions? Nobody got questions today.
I have another style question, Sam.
Yeah.
Now I'm asking for your preference on line 14. I'll type in the chat, but you have the curly braces. If
Or you want to I'll just tag you and just type it
Okay.
it into the
Yeah. Do you have a preference on these two? Because I like.
yeah, that's what I was explaining earlier.
Okay.
Maybe
I was
you're
like
zoning out during that part.
I was doing leak code problems.
This is like I think it was Crockford who always does that, and I follow his style. I don't do
Gotcha.
the one line returns. It is more terse, but I find this more readable. But that's just personal preference. Like that's what I was talking. That's how I started talking about nitpicking because I was saying,
Gotcha.
if you did type it like this, I wouldn't nitpick that. Like this would actually be, these two are equivalent, these two statements, but I find it easier to read like this.
I was like mainly I try to follow just different style guide or like one style guide in particular, and they definitely have preferences of like early.
You're not going to be able to do that in the real world though, because every team has a different style. Nobody
Yeah.
There's not
like,
a general style guide that everybody follows.
Yeah, I guess for me right now, I'm trying to follow somebody else's style guide, so I'm just getting used to following a style guide. But yeah.
So that's probably how I developed it. I just saw Douglas Crawford do that, and what he explained made sense. And I just kind of, since I did that all the time, I guess I just like that better. I don't know. Who knows why you end up liking specific things. But I do remember that after I watched that Douglas Crockford video on Front End Masters, I can try to look it up. I forget which one it was. So I watch a lot of Front End Masters. So Douglas Crawford wrote the original this good, I think is the good parts of, oh no, what did he write?
JavaScript good parts.
So I think he talks about this like if statement in this good parts of JavaScript, but like he wrote one of the famous JavaScript books. I think it was called the hard parts. Oh, it is called the good parts.
Good parts.
Good parts.
Yeah, I'm currently reading it right now.
Yeah. I don't know if he's made updated versions though for like the newer JavaScript. But yeah, I think it was this video where he talked about, I'm not even sure. My memory sucks. Maybe, maybe it wasn't even him that said that. It might have been somebody else, but I think it was him in that video that I was talking about doing it like this. But that's not a big issue. That's why I said it's a nitpick. It doesn't matter. Like both of them is pretty readable. So I don't think it really matters. Yeah. Somebody was saying something?
Yeah, Sam, on the use effect, that was another hook that I'm still trying to understand. That's a hook that just, that means that when you use effect, whatever function is passed in there is going to be rendered after everything else has been rendered. Is that correct?
It's to perform side effects. So like it depends what you pass in here. If you leave it empty, this code only executes once after the first mount. It's equivalent to component did mount. That's just how you do it now. But if you want to learn hooks, I recommend just watching Brian Holt's course on front-end masters. There's probably other good ones, but Brian Holt's courses are good on here. The React courses, at least. I don't know about, I watched a little bit of like this Linux one and stuff, or his containers, but not as good as his React courses, at least in my opinion. So he has like, if you want to do like the intro, I think version 5 is the latest, and then intermediate. So he probably does hooks inside these. I forget which one. Either that, or you can look for videos from Kent C. Dodds, and all those dudes have good videos on the internet somewhere explaining hooks. Also, the React docs are like great for like, there's a section on the React docs, like make sure you read the whole section about hooks before you try and use hooks. Is that Ian? Somebody raising their hand.
Yes, that is me. Hi, Sam. How are you?
Hey, how's it going?
I feel okay. In reference to front-end masters, I believe you mentioned at one point in time that there was a way to avoid having to pay the heavy fees. What's the procedure for that?
I think you can get 6 months free with the GitHub Educational Pack. You can get a lot of stuff free with the GitHub Educational Pack, actually. Just Google GitHub Educational Pack. And I think all you need to qualify for GitHub Educational Pack is you need a university email. There might be other ways to get it. You can try contact them, I'm not sure. But like university email, you can get by just registering for one community college course. And depending where you are, like a lot of community college is free now. So you can just register for an online community college class. You don't even need to go to the class. You can just get the GitHub pack, right? There's all kind of like hacks in this world. I would still go to the university class though, right? Like university has a bunch of computer science classes you can take, and if it's free and it's online, you can just, and if you don't have a job, you got time, so might as well learn stuff too, right?
Quite frankly, I think I've learned a lot just being here, man. This is awesome.
So yeah, when I was starting out, I was poor, you know, so I had to figure out all kind of hacks how to get.
Exactly.
I was getting free credit. I was getting free credits for everything. I think I got front-end masters like 2 years. My first 2 years, I don't think I paid for it. But since I make money now, I gladly pay for it. I want to support them so that they keep making videos. So I pay for it now. But in the beginning, like I got a year subscription from my boot camp, and then like later on, Dev Bootcamp went out of business, and then Hack Reactor was trying to get people to come to their boot camp, even though they already did Dev Bootcamp, because a lot of people do 2 boot camps. Some people do 3 boot camps. I know, like I don't know if people know Stephen Inoue. He was one of our guests on Junior Developer Happy Hour. He went to 3 boot camps, and he works at Google now. Yeah, Hack Reactor, in order to try and recruit Dev Bootcamp students, like some people didn't get to complete Dev Bootcamp, I think, or something, because Dev Bootcamp went out of business, right? Or the people that were gonna go to Dev Bootcamp, Hack Reactor was trying to like recruit them. So in order to like entice people to like check out Hack Reactor, they gave any Dev Bootcamp alumni 1-year subscription to Front-End Masters. So I got that too. So I got 1 year free from Dev Bootcamp, and I got 1 year free from Hack Reactor. And then that's how I got that for free. Treehouse is free with San Francisco library card. I think other library cards have that too. Lynda.com is free with the San Francisco library card. So I have free Treehouse, and I've had free Treehouse for like, I don't know how long, like 5 years or something. And it's still going. I still got the free Treehouse. And then like hackathons give out a lot of credits. Like you just go around and talk to all the sponsors, and sometimes they just give you free credits. So, but you have to like go and talk to them.
You got a Headspace for free? That's not development related.
I did. I used to get Headspace for free from my work. Like that was one of the benefits at Pivotal. When I worked at Pivotal, you just got, I think it was Pivotal where you got free. Most workplaces you get some kind of like free educational stuff or Headspace mental wellness kind of things.
So what is Headspace? I've never heard of it.
It's to like help you meditate. It's like guided meditation app. We used to use it at a startup I worked at. The first thing in the morning, we would go into a room and play the Headspace thing, and I'll meditate before we like start working.
One of the guys that was a guest on Junior Developer Happy Hour, Lee, I forget his last name.
Richardson.
Yeah, he works there, and he will occasionally give out free codes to, I guess, participants of JDHH.
He gave us a bunch of codes after he came on as a guest. So yeah, and you can always just ask. You can just try and email like the like the front-end masters people. You can just tweet at them. That's what Twitter is great for. You just tweet. Just like you don't say, "Can I get this for free?" Just be like, "Do you have any kind of codes for students trying to learn development?" That's like a nice way to ask for like something for free, right?
Genius. I love it. Thanks.
Because like they might actually have codes for students, so that's like a legit question. So, but if you don't ask, you're not gonna know. So you can also just Google free codes for whatever service. But yeah, but as far as I know right now, that GitHub educational pack is how you can get lots of stuff for free. I think you can get like free hobby Dino node from Heroku and stuff like that for like a whole year or something. But participating in hackathons too is another way, because there's always sponsors for the hackathon in there. Usually awesome if you do a hackathon and there's a sponsor. Not only do you get free credits usually for whatever developer tool the sponsor is or service, you also get like free workshops a lot of the time, because like the developer evangelist is there that's trying to get people to use their API or their SDK or whatever thing that they're trying to promote. So a lot of times if you do a hackathon, sometimes I would just do hackathons and I wouldn't even like build anything. I would just go to get free stuff and eat and learn stuff and just hang out, and I wouldn't build anything. If
I
I
think
was
that's going to be my approach pretty soon.
like, if not all the time you have enough energy to like spend the whole week in building something, you know? So sometimes I would just go to hang out and just get free stuff. But yeah, now everything's online, so I don't know. I haven't done a hackathon in a while, so I don't know how it is these days. Any other questions?
It's Sam, I had a question on, so I see here that we've got that return statement there. Is, if I'm understanding, I know there's a render method. Is that only used when you have a component? Is when you have to use that method to?
Wait, where are you looking?
I'm looking at, so I'm on 46. So I see that you have a return,
Yeah.
but I know there's also a render method in React. And if I remember correctly, you can only use that method if you create a component, correct?
Yeah, that's for class components. In the functional
Okay.
components, whatever you return from the functional component is what is rendered.
To functional, you don't need to have that method, but if you did, I guess, a traditional class, then you would have to have the render method. Okay.
Yeah, because functions don't have methods. So that's why there's no, it's just a function. There is no methods, you know, so there is no render to call. So they had to like figure out a different way to do it where you just render, or you just return the JSX. Like, this is not a class anymore. You don't have component did mount. You don't have any methods. It's just a plain function. So yeah, that's why you got to use hooks and all that kind of stuff now, because there's no methods. Any other questions?
Yeah, just real quick, how would you design this if you wanted to add an undo feature? Not quite a clear canvas, but just an undo.
So you would need to keep track. I don't know, maybe there's an easier way to do it. Like, you could try Google like undo canvas, but if there is no undo function, you would need to keep track of what you want to undo.
Does that
So
mean
you would need to keep state of like every, you know how like in Redux dev tools, it will like, you got like a whole list of everything that you did. You would need to create something like that where you keep track of every action you did on the context. And then you would need to keep that in state somewhere, and then just put it in an array, you know, all the actions you performed on context. And then you would need to be able to reverse all those things if there isn't an undo command. So unless there's a built-in tool, it wouldn't be super easy, because you would need to like figure out how to reverse every single type of action there is in a context.
right?
But I don't know, maybe they have something built in. If not, it might be, like I said, that somebody built like this React canvas draw. I can bring it up on the screen now. I never used this. I just Googled it just to see if somebody made something, because mostly all these kind of tools, somebody has made something already that's pretty good, because React has been around for a while. So I figured somebody made something, and it looks like this thing is super easy to use. So it's not super active though, 4,000 downloads, but I guess not everybody's doing Canvas. But there might be other tools. I just did a quick Google search, and this thing, you just do canvas draw, and it has like some functions. You probably use this on change function. It does have an undo. So like this thing already has the undo built in. So
Oh, nice.
I probably would just use this library. And you could also look at the source code to see how they do it. So that's how I figure out how to do stuff sometimes.
Right,
Just go and look at the library source code. Like sometimes libraries are really big and they do all kinds of stuff, but I just want like one small piece of it. And then if it's open source, you can just copy the code and put it into your code. I'll just go to the part that I want and I'll just copy that part and put it into my code and refactor it to make it work with my code. But usually that's a good way to start. Just copy somebody else's code and modify it. But yeah, but I don't know, we can look it up too. Maybe it has this context. Yeah, I don't know. There doesn't look like there's a real straightforward way to do it. But here's another library, undo, redo. This thing adds an undo function to the context. That might be good enough too.
Oh, nice. Okay.
The CodePen. Yeah, you can also just explore CodePen and Code Sandbox and stuff too. And then people have all kinds of stuff in CodePens and in Code Sandboxes. If you just sit down one day and type Canvas, like if you just go into like Code Sandbox, like when you're bored, just go in here and just type, oh, not there though.
I found a vanilla JavaScript implementation of undo redo.
Yeah, see.
Yeah,
You sit down and Google stuff. Let's see. I always forget how to navigate Code Sandbox. I want to search all the. Let's see. I don't know. But like, if you just go through and just look, you can just see what other people built and just try to get ideas. The other way is just to go on YouTube and type in words like Canvas undo and stuff and just watch. People make videos for everything. So you can just, that's how I learned how to do a lot of stuff. I just go on YouTube and just see how somebody else did it. Like anything, how to make Minesweeper. That's like an interview question, right? Front end, that's like a common kind of front end issue. I think like make Minesweeper. For people who are not familiar with Minesweeper, that was like a game on Windows machines. I don't know if it's still a game on Windows machines. Anybody have Windows? Yeah, I don't know. But yeah. So YouTube, Google, Code Sandbox, CodePen. CodePen's good for looking up how to do stuff with CSS. People do all kinds of crazy stuff with CSS on CodePen, and that's probably where I would look if I was trying to figure out how to do something with CSS that was complicated that I didn't know how to do. Because then you just go in there and you just copy the code. You just put it into your code base.
Right. Cool. Thank you.
Yeah, I don't know if people saw. I saw this girl. She made the iPhone 12 with CSS. It's nuts. Let me show you. I just posted it in the JDHH Slack. Look at that. That's CSS. What the hell? People are awesome.
That's so
That looks,
crazy.
yeah, and if you look at like, she based this on the image from the Apple demo the other day. It looks like if you look you have to look at it hard to tell the difference between her CSS and the photo that they had.
They,
I have a link for her tweet that I saw it on. It's this.
I already got it.
Oh, okay. Her CodePen doesn't have the Apple logo on it though. I don't know if she took it off or.
That would be a copyright issue probably.
I don't think Apple would care. She's not selling the CSS drawing. It's good marketing for them. It's free marketing. Look how much traction she got on this tweet. 4,200 likes. Free advertising for new purple iPhone.
they, at first glance, I can barely tell the difference.
I can't even, you can only tell by looking at the edge. Like it's kind of like janky, the edge right here. But other than that, it's super hard to tell the difference.
Yeah.
What? I don't know. Like her picture looks clearer than the like photo.
Does that mean the real one is not a real phone?
No,
also,
the picture's just not super high res. Like if you look at the picture, it's like it's a little pixelated. So it's the way that Twitter like resizes the photo, I think, like when you upload it. But yeah, if you go on CodePen, people make all kinds of crazy stuff with CSS. And they mostly do it with CodePen. That's why for CodePen's a little easier to navigate. You just go to the front page and you can just you can look at like what's trending and stuff. Then you can just see like what people made. You just go here. But oh, they have challenges too. I don't know what that is though. Yeah,
Hey, Sam,
yeah. What's up?
can you install dependencies in CodePen? I know JS Fiddle, you can do that if you wanted to test out a. Oh, okay.
You just do it right here. Yeah, I use Code Sandbox mostly just for React stuff. Because it's like it's just VS Code in the browser. I don't use VS Code, but like it's nicer than most of the other than like CodePen and stuff. CodePen, you can do React and stuff too, I think. Where is it? But I don't know. I always just use Code Sandbox. And then I use Replit, like if I want to make like an Express app or something, because Replit you can do like backend in the browser too. So if you're not familiar with Replit, it's you can do like tons of languages in Replit. They support all kinds of stuff. You can do C++ and stuff, I think, in the browser. Their whole thing is like, they want you to be able to just code anywhere. You don't, that way you just code in the cloud and you don't need to set up stuff on your computer. So it's really popular with like students, like in high school and stuff like that. I think a lot of them use Replit. But you can use Replit to make APIs and stuff, and you can make it live. Like, so you get a free, like you can just make like the API. It'd be perfect for hackathon because you can just like quickly make API endpoints for like any app. Any other questions?
I had a question about a project I'm working on. I'm not sure like how to explain it super clearly, but I'm trying to work with TypeScript and React. I'm just trying to structure this custom hook. I'm not sure how to like assign a type to the properties I'm destructuring.
You can try post it. We have a channel in the Slack called what do we call it? Stack Overflow. You can just post your code in there, because you can post code snippets in Slack. So
Sounds good.
yeah, maybe later we can look at it. I'm not working with TypeScript right now though, so it wouldn't be fresh on my mind. I haven't used TypeScript since I left Lyft. That was in December, so I might have forgot a lot of stuff.
I also had just one more question about, do you think it's still worth it learning classes in React, or should we just stick with hooks?
I always recommend, at least my personal preference is to only learn what I'm using. Because I learned over the years that if I just try to learn all kinds of stuff, I forget it. Like if I'm not using it. So if you're talking about learning, like what you should learn to get a job, I would learn. You might still need to learn both though. That's why it's hard to know, because you don't know if you're going to be working in a legacy code base. But like just for doing like any like take home challenges or interview, I would think that most people would just do it like with functional components. But I don't know if they're going to be using like HackerRank or Code Signal. They have front end challenges. I don't know if it's still set up with like class components. I'm not sure. So like you got to know how to use both, I think.
So my friend that graduated a few months before me in boot camp, our boot camp teaches function components, and he learned function components, but when he got a job, he entered a code base where they're still I guess the preference is class components. So he just had to learn, but he didn't go out of his way beforehand to do it.
That's not normal. That's not normal though. Most companies, even if you're working in a legacy code base, I would assume any new components you make, they would want you to do it with functional components so you can take advantage of hooks. But that's a normal pattern. Like if I was the team lead and I came onto a code base and it's all class components, I would just be like, okay, from now on, any new component, you make a functional component. We'll slowly refactor the rest if we have time. Like if you finish whatever work you need, then you can slowly start refactoring like smaller components, especially. So that's how I would like work on it. Like if I came into a legacy code base and it was all class components, I wouldn't keep building new class components.
I think what it must be my memory from what he told me, but
I mean that could be the case though.
He had to know at least probably how to read and use class components.
Yeah, that's why it's hard.
Just to understand the code base.
Yeah, so I guess you should know how to use both. Like, I don't know which way is the best way to learn. If you should learn functional then class though, because I just learned it in order. I was here since like, I was learning it like when React came out. So I learned class components. I learned it in order. So I don't like know what it would be like now, what the best approach would be. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I think earlier, like before Sam started the class, I was just mentioning like learning React and then like going in the doc, the beginning is very clear and then everything's in class. And then I asked my mentor and then he's like, well, try to learn like functional. And then I'm trying to translate like what I'm reading the class component into functional, and then that's definitely difficult.
Yeah, so maybe you can just do it in the class first, and then after you get it to work, refactor it into a functional component.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, you're always gonna have to learn a lot of stuff. The learning never stops. I mean, I've been doing this professionally for 8 years already. and I still watch front end masters all the time, and I learn stuff just by doing this coding challenges with you guys. Even though we're doing like fundamental kind of stuff, I still learn stuff when I'm doing this because I don't do this every day. Like I don't have any Canvas stuff in the app I'm working on right now, so I haven't used Canvas in years. So I didn't. I was learning by watching the West Boss video again today. Like I forgot all that stuff, even though I've done JavaScript 30 a bunch of times already. I haven't
Wax
done it
on,
in a while.
wax off.
Yeah, yeah. I think it says on the
Practicing,
page
practicing fundamentals.
There is no formation without repetition. Yeah. So I've done. So see, even he says, how do you get better? Build lots of things. 1000% agree. People want to know how to get better at coding. It's just that. That's it. That's how you get better at coding.
Yeah.
You just build lots of stuff and you get better. There's no shortcut. You just gotta build a lot of things, and then your brain just notices all the patterns of what worked and what didn't work, troubles you ran into, and over time it just kind of like notices like all the patterns. I think at least that's what it's like for me.
Yeah. To kind of add, it's not supposedly front end related, but I've been studying a lot of algorithms lately, and there are no shortcuts. There's no cheat codes. You kind of just have to like sit through it and learn how to do it and recognize the patterns, and then eventually you get better.
I mean, that's how it is for everything, right? Like even if you're trying to get in shape or something, like, I mean, there is shortcuts for that. You could take like steroids, but there are health consequences to doing that, right? If you want to
trade-offs.
Like
the
if you want to do the right way, you gotta like put in the work. It just takes a lot of work.
I mean, the shortcut for programmers is like going to a boot camp.
That's a shortcut for some people who don't have a lot of drive. Like if you have a lot of drive, you could still learn really fast like you're in a boot camp. Like if you're dedicated and you have a lot of drive and you have a lot of focus. The benefit of the boot camp is it's guided. So you have kind of a guide, and then you have a group of people you're doing with just kind of motivating, because like you kind of motivate each other. And then the other thing is you just get a great network from going to a boot camp because you build relationships with all the people from the boot camp.
There was also a really interesting Reddit post that I came across in the CS career questions or something. And it was comparing like a 4-year computer science degree with like a pretty intensive or a full-time boot camp. And if you do like the hour breakdown of what computer science stuff you learn in an undergrad versus the focused stuff in a boot camp, it actually equals out to be about the same. It's just in a 4-year degree, it's spread out over time. You might have like more weekends, or you're not spending 10 hours a day doing focused work of just CS.
The topics are really different too.
Yeah.
Like boot camps mostly focus on web development, and a computer science curriculum generally only has one class on web development. So
yeah, like the approaches are like definitely like different. Of like he breaks it down in the Reddit post. I'll try to find it, but it's I guess I mean, Sam, you can correct me because you have a degree, but you learn more about how computers work and how to build like the foundational blocks of like computers and languages, but you don't do web development or frameworks.
Some of the classes are the same. Like they have a web development class, but I mean, you just learn what you learn in the beginning of a boot camp. You know, you learn HTML, CSS, some basic vanilla JavaScript. I don't know what it is now. I got my degree a long time ago. I mean, you have introduction to programming, which is still like probably the beginning weeks of the boot camp, where you learn about variables and for loops and stuff. But then there's other courses, there's like a data structures and algorithms course, which I barely passed when I when I did the program. I think I just barely got a C in that class. So I've never been good at algorithms, even when I was like studying it in college. So that's just not my strong suit. But yeah, I just practice before I go to interview if I need to learn it. But most front end interviews I needed, like especially, I think it might be once you get to mid level. A lot of times there is no data structures and algorithms. It might be just when you're a junior because they just want to make sure you know some computer science fundamentals, but maybe they just expect you know that once you get to like mid or higher levels. I'm guessing, I don't know. Because once you get to like mid or higher levels, the questions are more practical. They're just, a lot of times they'll just ask you, how would you build this? And it's like something they're like really trying to build. So they want to see like how you would approach the actual problem that they're like trying to solve. Or like, it's a lot of practical. It's just like, okay, here's the thing to build it. And it's a lot more practical. I haven't had a lot of algorithms and data structures like leak code kind of stuff besides at FANG companies like Google and Facebook I've interviewed at, and it's definitely data structures and algorithms you have to brush up a lot for those companies. Even though it's I interviewed for front end positions at both, but I still had to brush up a lot. But yeah, I didn't get offers from any of those companies.
I have a question in regards to hooks. I'm scrolling through the hook page right now. They have a use context. That's different than the context that we use today, right?
Yeah, it's like that term is just used for a lot of different things. So we were using the canvas context. React is React context. And it's useful to learn because it's used a lot. It's just a way to avoid prop drilling. So I don't know if you're familiar with the term prop drilling, but that's like an anti-pattern in React. But if you start noticing that you pass a prop down, that you pass to a child, that you pass to another child, then you pass to another child, and any of those middle components don't need that prop, and the only reason why you passed it down was so that child way deep could get it, that's called prop drilling. And that's an anti-pattern in React. So in order to get around that, you use the context. Context is just like a place to store state, and then any child in that tree, you can just use the use context hook to get and set state from your context.
What scenario would we use context that is prop drilling?
I don't have a specific example, but like I was just explaining, like if you have components that nest, like you have a component that has a child component, and that component has a child component, and that component has a child component, and only that child component nested way deep needed that prop, then you would use context. Because if you didn't use context, you got to pass the prop down 3 times just to get it to the child component.
Yeah, I can show you an example another day.
Sounds
I
good.
need to eat food, but I have, yeah.
Sounds great. Thank you for clarifying it. I was just like, wait.
You can probably just Google prop drilling. That's like a known thing.
Yeah, I'll look for it.
And just to add to that, like I think a better method is probably using children in composition, like the doc specify, because it's like it makes it easier to debug.
Yeah, it depends what you're making though. So sometimes context is better. Sometimes you can use composition. Sometimes you can just do a little bit of prop drilling. If it's like 2 levels, like who cares? Like, I don't know, that's not too bad. It just depends on the situation. Like there's a lot of ways to do everything, and sometimes it doesn't really matter which way you pick. So, but that also depends who you work with, because some developers are really pedantic and they only like it one specific way. So it depends who you work with, and depends on the situation too. There's no hard rules. You'll just over time, you'll develop your own opinions over time. Just I think people develop opinions just based on their experience, like they ran into some issue where prop drilling caused the problem and they're like scarred by that. So then they never want to see that like in the code. That's how people develop opinions. I think like they were burned by a specific way in the past and now they don't really like that way. I think that's what happens.
Thank you so much for your time today. This is fun.
Yep.
Thank you, Sam.
No problem.
It's good to see you again. Good to
I
see
know.
the familiar faces.
Yeah, we haven't done the normal Saturday in a few weeks. All the videos are up though. Brady's have been uploading since we don't have Saturdays.
I've liked them. I like them. I smashed the
Finally,
like button.
nobody ever likes the videos, man.
Let me go smash it.
People watch them, you can see the views, but nobody clicks the like button.
Where can we find the videos? I'm not quite clear on that.
So for the Ask Me Anythings are on, we don't have a central place. The Ask Me Anythings are on Brady's YouTube channel. And then the videos for this meetup are on here on my channel. And there's a React30 channel in the Slack, and I usually post in there. I'm a little behind. I didn't upload last week's video. I forgot. So I'm uploading that now. It takes a long time for YouTube to process the video though. It takes hours. So I'll check. It might be done processing last week's one. I usually post in the channel when I upload the videos. But yeah. Any other questions? No? Okay. We can call it a night then.
Gotta build over 1,000 things.
Actually, I do have a quick question. Well, I don't know if it's a quick question, but I'm in the middle of trying to do a tutorial involving Ruby as a backend. However, every time that I install Ruby on my machine, it seems to arrive not working. So I don't know whether I'm not quite clear on what am I doing or what am I not doing.
Yeah, that's what Replit is for. Then you don't have to worry about those kind of problems. You can just focus on learning the language and not fighting installing it on your computer. I would just go on Replit and learn Ruby.
That's like my issue with learning Java.
Yeah, Replit, you can learn any language. It's just on there and you don't have to like worry about
set up environments.
All these problems of like getting it to work on your machine. You can just learn the language.
So is it possible to transfer an entire project, because the project is part
I think you can link
part
it.
Ruby?
I think you can just link GitHub repos to Replit. I don't know. You can try. I haven't done Ruby in a long time. But other than that, or otherwise, you have to figure out how to get it to work. You might be able to just use a Docker container or something. If there probably is Docker containers that already have Ruby installed, but then you got to learn how to use Docker. So I don't know. There's lots of different ways you can do it.
I have no idea what's Docker. This is the first time I'm hearing about it.
It's just it's called like containerization, so that you can run virtual machines on your computer, so that it's already set up. Like you just download the container and it's containerized. So it's like separate from it doesn't mess up your environment on your computer. and they have containers that already have whole projects set up in it. And like they have instructions how you can just use it. Like Ruby will already be installed, Ruby on Rails will already be installed or whatever. And it will have like all the dependencies you need to use it. And you just run the container and you just use stuff from the container.
Yeah, they have a GUI, and then you can also access it through like terminal.
Yeah, but that's probably a little more once you start getting more advanced, but that's how people, when they like deploy their projects, that's how they make sure, like when you're working on a more complex project, it might have like a lot of stuff to set up for environment, and to make sure that everybody on the team, the app runs the same. And when you deploy it, it runs the same on Linux, on Mac, on Windows. You just run it in Docker, and then that makes sure that it runs it in the same environment for everybody. So you can choose a container that has Linux on it, a specific version, and it doesn't matter if you're running Windows or Mac, everybody will run it in Linux, and you don't have to install Linux on your computer. It's in this like virtual machine that Docker like makes it easy to like just run on your computer, or easier than having to like do all that stuff from scratch. But yeah, but if you want to just learn like stuff with Ruby, I would try just do it on Replit.
Well, it was more like the tutorial was, it had Ruby is the back end. Truth be told, how can I best put this? I don't know enough to discern if whether or not another backend would have worked, or if I could switch out a backend that I'm familiar with versus something that I barely know. So it was one of those things where I'm like, okay, I just want to follow all of the instructions, and then hopefully I'll be able to make sense of whatever happened.
I mean, you can probably use any backend. Yeah. But Docker, Kubernetes is different. That's like a container management, I think. Kubernetes is like next level.
I think they work together.
Kubernetes is way more complicated. Yeah. What do you call it? Container orchestration or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, you only really need to learn that stuff like deeply if you're like doing DevOps. Then like Kubernetes, like a tool you need to learn. You probably are gonna have to use it. Most companies use. Well, I don't know if most companies. A lot of companies use Kubernetes now, though, for them deploying their apps. But most apps don't need that. Like, I mean, not most apps. A lot of apps don't need that. I don't know statistics, so I don't want to say most. All right.
Good.
Yes. I'll see y'all later, unless there's any last minute questions. Okay. All right. I'll see everybody later. Bye.
Bye bye.
See ya.
Okay, thanks.